Hi, my name is Cindy Eastman, and I would like to share an essay I wrote from my book, Flip-Flops After 50. It's a collection of essays about getting older and how fun and hilarious that is. This one is called Found Time. Every once in a while, a phenomenon occurs that I've heard referred to as found time. This supposedly means that all of a sudden a period of time that was previously booked becomes available. Like when a meeting is suddenly canceled and you have time to go to the grocery store. Or one day you look up and there are no children in your home and you have to figure out how to fill your days. Like that. Found time. I've always wanted to have a drink at the Campbell apartment. Why? Well, as it says on the red leather-bound menu, it offers cocktails from another era. It's situated on the upper level of Grand Central Station, and it once belonged to John Campbell, leased from Cornelius Vanderbilt as a private office. Old New York has always intrigued me. When I visit, I find myself imagining what it was like to walk the sidewalks 100 years ago, speculating about what the buildings originally housed, and wondering if all the little parks were well kept and inviting. I figured if I saved up, I could spend $20 on a cocktail at the Campbell apartment and experience life as it was at that time, just for a while. So as fate would have it, on a recent trip to New York City, my train arrived on time at Grand Central Station and my daughter did not. I caught a little bit of that found time. I texted Annie that I would be waiting for her at the Campbell apartment, and I walked right up to the entrance. The bar opens at 3 p.m., and I was a few minutes early. Still, there were several people ahead of me. I chalked it up to the popularity of the place and waited for the double doors at the top of the stairs to open. It turned out that the people waiting with me were all members of the same party, and they were waiting for more. They were about to surprise a young couple they knew who were getting engaged at that very moment. They rushed into the tiny room, big for an apartment, small for a bar. And I was left at the lone bar stool at the end of the bar. The hostess, in black cocktail dress and pearls, took pity on my plight, although she was clearly delighted about having such a windfall party so early in the day. She handed me the red leather menu, and she told me she would take my order herself, so I wouldn't get lost in the crush of the engagement party's orders. I read and reread the 3-page menu, toying with the idea of ordering a fancy cocktail. I had the time, but the reason I'd taken the train into the city in the first place was to meet up with a friend I hadn't seen in 20 or so years. She was in town to visit her son at Columbia and cheer him on at his last football game as a senior. So I decided on a glass of California Chardonnay. A benign glass of white wine was less likely to make me stumble up to Columbia and make a bad impression. My $14 glass of wine was poured by the lovely hostess, and I sat at the bar wondering how a 21st century woman occupies herself alone at the bar. This is definitely not in my skill set. I finally did what I always do. I pulled out my notebook and started to write. I always think that the other patrons and/or delightful hostess will think I'm a famous writer, or at the very least, a food critic, and then offer me something on the house. But sadly, this never happens. I didn't have long to establish my authority with writing, though, because Annie showed up when I was halfway into my Chardonnay. The hostess had said she found a cozy little table in the corner, and as Annie had never been to the Campbell apartment either, we stayed. And Annie ordered a Pimm's cup. Where did we need to go? Well, yes, to meet my friend, but she was at a football game. This was serious found time here. I didn't feel rushed or worried or pressed, or any of those other pushy feelings that make you feel like you can't enjoy exactly what you're doing at the moment you're doing it. So there we were, ensconced in a dark corner, surrounded by overstuffed chairs and sofas, wood-paneled walls, and a smattering of beautiful people, enjoying our cocktails. The room, and it's just a room, had a huge stone fireplace, and the whole place had kind of a 18th century English manor, Manhattan Upper West Side pied-à-terre feeling to it. Like I know what any of those things are, but that was the impression I had. Suddenly, the room exploded into applause and camera flashes, and the happy couple had arrived. Annie and I excitedly joined in, clapping and smiling and curiously even crying a little bit. There were more than a few glances in our direction, as if to ask, who the hell are they? But we clapped more loudly and smiled more broadly. It's fun to crash parties. When both of our glasses were empty, I called my friend. She and her son were heading back to campus, and we could meet them there. I paid the bill and we left to catch the subway shuttle to Times Square and head uptown. As we left the Campbell apartment, I realized how good I felt. This found time had appeared, and I'd taken the opportunity to do something I'd always wanted to do. And I'd gotten to do it with Annie, and we had a blast. Train ticket to Grand Central Station from Chappaqua, New York, $8.25. A California Chardonnay and a Pim's Cup at the Campbell apartment, plus tip, $31. The ability to finally take some time for myself without feeling guilty and enjoy an absolutely wonderful time with my daughter, priceless. Thank you for listening. I hope you will find the time to visit the Grand Central Station Campbell apartment, because I hear it's not going to be there for long. So thank you for listening. Bye.